What is up, everyone? Paul here, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Switch games to buy before they become rare and expensive. So the first game that I have to talk about on this list is Damon X Machina, and this is one that has definitely become harder to find and is definitely going up in price as of recently. And in this game, you control a mech as a mercenary in an apocalyptic world where you're fighting to save the world. And basically the combat consists of a third-person shooter type of gameplay where you get to control this awesome mech and customize it and all kind of stuff like that. And this game received mixed reviews, kind of some mid reviews from critics, but pretty much everyone who's played this game has nothing but good things to say about it. So if you're into mechs and you're into Nintendo Switch collecting, definitely consider picking up Damon X Machina sooner than later, because I have seen the prices really going up on this one. And the next game that I'm going to talk about is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. And this game is a remake of the Game Boy Advance games. It got two versions back then, but now they just made one. But what this game is a dungeon crawling Pokemon RPG, but it's different than the mainline games. In this one, you actually become a Pokemon. You go in these dungeons to recruit other Pokemon, and the dungeons in this game are all randomly generated, so you'll pretty much get a different experience every time you play. And this game has a lot of content, I believe like hundreds of hours of gameplay. It has beautiful, kind of like a color painted art style to it. But the reason why this one is on my list is because if you look at some of the past Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games and even other Pokemon spin-offs, even mainline Pokemon games pretty much always hold their value. And a lot of the past spin-offs have gotten very expensive, including some of the Mystery Dungeon games. So if you're into Pokemon, this is one to definitely have on your radar. And the third game that we're going to take a look at is the Defield Chronicle by Square Enix. And the reason why I'm putting this game on the list is because this game really did not sell well, and I don't believe this one will really be reprinted. So I'm just guessing that as the stock for this one dries up, the prices will go up. And another part of my reasoning is because if you look at a lot of those early Square Enix RPGs that came out on the Switch that weren't their big AAA ones, but were made by smaller dev teams like Oninaki, I Am Setsuna, a lot of those games have definitely gone up in price. Some of those Saga games have definitely gone up in price. And because this was a low performing game for them, I don't see them printing too many more copies of this. But this was a kind of like a real-time strategy RPG. It always looked good to me when I saw it, so I always wanted to try it out, and I got it for a good price, so I'm happy about that. But I can definitely see this one going up in the future. So definitely keep this one on your radar if you're into strategy RPGs and Square Enix games. Next up is Cuphead. And the reason why this one is on my list is because this is definitely a physical collector, very collectible item. This has the comic book cards and the membership card for Cuphead. And this also has all the DLC on the cartridge. This is a highly regarded run and gun platformer action game. Really tough game, but really beloved, great art style. And I think this one will definitely become very collectible and sought after once the physicals get harder to find. But you can definitely still pick this up right now for a good price. But the name of this series is buy before rare and expensive, not after they're already pricey. So yeah, this is one that you definitely might want to have on your radar. Our next pick here is Owlboy. And this game is a story-driven platformer Metroidvania developed by an indie developer. Has a nice art style, kind of has that Super Nintendo style of graphics to it. And this one was actually very well received by critics and fans alike. But this is an indie game that probably didn't get a whole lot of copies out there, so it's definitely harder to find right now. But as of right now, I believe you can still get this one on the cheap, probably on the resale market. I don't think you'll really find this at retail unless you find a pre-owned copy somewhere, as I believe the print run for this one is definitely over. But this is one that you might want to consider if you're into those platforming Metroidvanias that are not the popular like your Castlevania and Metroid. Now this next game is one that I have talked about in a previous video, but it's one that as of recent times has definitely gone up in value, at least somewhat, on the resale market, and that is Paper Mario the Origami King. With all the rumors swirling that Nintendo isn't going to reprint a lot of their older titles anymore, this one has seemingly definitely went up in price as of recently. And of course, this is a Paper Mario game, has that awesome art style to it. This one was kind of mixedly received. I mean, some people love it, some people don't. The biggest criticism of this one is the combat system. But if you want this one in your collection, I would suggest getting it if you can find it for a good price. I don't suggest paying a crazy amount from resellers, because I've seen some listings of this one getting pretty pricey already, but I have also seen some reasonable listings. But I've noticed that the North American ESRB copies are definitely getting harder to find for an affordable price. So definitely keep an eye on this game and pick it up if it's something that you're interested in. Now, with all the hype and the rave reception to the Final Fantasy VII games, I believe that Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core for the Nintendo Switch could definitely hold its value well, or possibly go up in the future, because this is the only newer style Final Fantasy VII game that we have on the Nintendo Switch. Plus Cloud and Sephiroth making it into Smash definitely got more Nintendo Switch owners interested in this series, and this one is very well received. It's one you should probably pick up anyway if you like your action RPGs, but definitely keep an eye on this one, as I don't see it much at retail anymore, but it's still out there readily available for good prices as of right now. Now, the next few games that I'm going to talk about are games that I don't currently have in my collection, so I'll just show them up on the screen here. But I am considering picking up at least maybe one or two of these, and the first one is Dragon Quest Monsters. Dragon Quest Monsters is a monster collecting RPG, a little similar to Pokemon, but it's definitely its own thing. In this game, you do battle with the turn-based RPG mechanics, but you also fuse monsters together, kind of similar to like the Shin Megami Tensei series, to make newer, better, and stronger monsters. And this game quickly sold out in Japan, and it seems to also be selling out here in the US. I don't see many copies of it out there, and it's gotten to the point where people are putting this game on eBay for 70, 80, 90 bucks, maybe even more than that. So if you're interested in Dragon Quest Monsters, definitely consider picking up a copy of that game. The next game that I'm going to talk about is Another Code Recollection. And Another Code Recollection is a game that came out and you just couldn't even find it in the stores. It's still hard to find in the stores until this day. People were putting it a bit above retail price on the resale market, places like eBay. And what that game is a collection of two point-and-click mystery adventure games, one that originally came out on the DS and another one that came out on the Wii that we never even got here in the United States. So this game does look pretty good. I've never really played the whole point-and-click adventure type of game, so I don't know if I would like it or not. So let me know in the comments if you think it's a game that I should pick up, because it looks kind of cool. Maybe I should just go ahead and try the demo and see from there. All right, so the final game that I want to talk about is Tactics Ogre Reborn. And this is a remake of a Super Nintendo classic strategy RPG by Square Enix, and this one you can definitely still get for affordable prices, but I've noticed that it's definitely harder to find in retail stores, but I believe you can probably still get it from Amazon and definitely from resellers on eBay, and it's not too expensive right now. And I do love my Square Enix RPGs. I passed on it a few times thinking, this is just like a Super Nintendo style game with really no enhancements or anything. But now I'm thinking that I definitely do want to pick that one up if I can find it out there, or maybe just order online eventually. But that is it for my list of 10 Nintendo Switch games to buy before they become rare and expensive. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing to the channel, as I do put out a lot of Nintendo Switch content for you guys on here. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, as always, peace.